So you paid some of your employees' superannuation late. You've prepared an SGC statement. It shows a huge liability. In this video, I'm going to talk about the method I used to reduce my client's SGC liability by over 18 grand using the Waterfall methodology. I'm Sky, and I'm a self-confessed data nerd who helps other accountants solve clients' tax and data problems. If you're new to SGC and want to know more about the different components, check out my other video where I step through how the SGC is calculated. So, a bit of background. During an ATO review, it was identified that a client had paid his employee super obligations for around 10 employees late. In 21 and 22, for a total super payable of 120 grand, he'd only paid about $30,000 on time. The rest of it, 90 grand, 7 to 30 days late. And so by the end of 24, when we picked it up, his accountant initially completed the SGC forms showing that quarter by quarter, each payment was late and so was subject to SGC. The initial forms we calculated showed 33 grand of an interest applying. So, working with his accountant, this got me interested in understanding how SGC is calculated and, more importantly, how we can reduce it. That's when we applied the Waterfall methodology and reduced the nominal interest by $18,000. Let's use a simplified example. We had 4 quarters, and for each of them was around $3,000 of super, but the first 3 quarters were paid a couple of days late. As the first 3 quarters are late, the starting position is that we have a super guarantee shortfall and need to lodge an SGC form for each of these 3 quarters. So if we put the 30 June 21 quarter payment into the SGC form, it shows $1,183 of nominal interest accruing. Remember, this is calculated from the start of the quarter until the date we lodge the SGC form in 24, not when we actually paid it. When we completed the SGC calculations for all 3 quarters, it showed that we had $9,900 of late super and nominal interest of $3,532. You can see that the late lodgement of the SGC statement results in substantial interest accruing. So, the Waterfall method seeks to reallocate the payments to a different period to reduce the amount that was treated as late. I'll show you how it works. If we treat the payment made on the 1st of May 21 as a prepayment of the super liability that was due on 28th of July, this means there's only $300 which is treated as paid late for the June quarter. And if we treat the payment made on 1 August as the prepayment of the liability due on the 28th of October, there's only $300 which is late for the September quarter. We'll then treat the payment made on the 1st of November as the late payment of the balance for those earlier 2 quarters. Using this method, we can see that there's only $3,900 which is treated as late. And as a result, our nominal interest is now reduced to $1,357. Using the Waterfall method, we've now reduced the super which was treated as late. This means the amount of the super which is treated as non-deductible has been reduced. The nominal interest, as otherwise calculated, is also reduced. Any potential Part 7 penalties which could apply is also reduced. So, there are some rules to this. Firstly, it must be reallocated on an employee-by-employee basis. The example I've shown is just 1 employee. You'll need to do separate calculations for each employee that you've made late payments on. Secondly, super can only be applied as a prepayment up to 12 months in advance. In addition, this also applies to ordinary time earnings, not other salaries and wages. The calculations can be different. You'll also need to keep records to show which payments have been matched to which liability. The Waterfall approach isn't going to solve all of your problems, but let's talk about those times when it could give you a better outcome. Firstly, you'll need at least 2 periods of late for the same employee. They don't need to be concurrent. So you could be late for quarter 1 and quarter 3, but on time for quarter 2, and it will still give you a benefit for quarter 1 and quarter 3. You'll also need to have more than 1 payment being made. So not a single catch-up payment. If you underpay for a period, for example, pay at the wrong rate and then make a single lump sum payment that catches up, The waterfall approach won't provide you the benefit. The waterfall approach also won't work if you've already lodged the super guarantee statement and claimed the late payment offset. When you claim the late payment offset, that was an irrevocable choice. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily something that you can go back and amend. If you want to work through this simple example, a copy of this calculation is available to download on my website. There, you'll also find a more complex waterfall calculator that is available. Or if you have even more complex case, reach out. If you've got multiple periods of superannuation that is paid late, consider whether the waterfall approach may reduce your SGC liability. Work through the examples or reach out.